This presentation is going to be very brief so that we have some time in the second half for discussion. So I'll touch upon two aspects. One is the Yogacha Pratyakṣa. These are empirical studies that we have been doing for last 2 years, and some of our team members, they're already here. So Mr. Praveen Kumar, who was supposed to present, but I'm taking his part, and I'm Jyotiranjan. And there are other members, Mr. Binay and Dr. Venkatesh Chemral from IT Mandi, Lokeshwar Vijayanapalli, again IT Mandi, and Professor Lakshmindar Behera, director there. So it's a joint project. So it's actually started from a YouTube video. 2 years back, we came across certain kids who can see objects, recognize objects with almost 100% accuracy, even if they're blindfolded. So to me, it was complete absurd, maybe cheating. But Praveen Kumar, he insisted on, and he said, let's investigate whether it is true or false, whether they're cheating, whether they can do really. So that led us to investigation of all these different aspects of, you can say, Yogacha Pratyakṣa. You are all experts in this. You have better explanation maybe. So you can see the kids here, they can recognize objects. We try to blindfold them in many different ways just to ensure that they're not cheating. So multi-layer blindfold, I would say. The first one you were seeing, the right side kid. So with orange cover on his eyes, and then beneath that there are cotton swabs fully covering his eyes, and then occlusion patches also. And then another method where we are completely blocking out the vision using black paper. So yeah, so there are different examples, and this kind of studies have been done for last 50-60 years, starting from Robert Boyle in 1664, and usually this is attributed to some kind of cheating, some kind of sorry. It's being presented.
Minimize it.
Yeah, it's been presented. So this is not new that we are first time doing. There have been a lot of attempts to understand them, but probably I would say the neuroimaging studies that have become very popular these days, we leverage that thanks to setups that we have at IIT India and of course at ISS. So we call it non-vision visual perception. It's a name given by Dr. Venkatesh. So, and we found that the kids, they can identify objects by touch, by smell, without touch also. Some kids, they can identify even with the barriers, and some even can identify with different angles of vision. Angle of vision means this is 0-degree angle of vision. I rotate the object up to 75-80 degree, where a normal person cannot even see. So those kids, they can identify even with 75-80 degrees of deviation. And of course, some kids, they can also see objects in dark room. May not be perfect dark, but very little amount of light to recognize objects. Of course, in that they are also blindfolded. So, and different behavioral studies we performed. We try to assess the degree of their correctness by identifying the shape of the identification, color, texture, the number of objects they can count, background, foreground discrimination, and reading of text, and many other such things. So, and we found some kids who are very much into this practice, regularly doing, and they are very sattvic in nature, so they can do it almost like 100% accuracy. And some who are new to this and learning, so sometimes they fail. Some cases you can see 0% accuracy. And we performed certain easy experiments on them, considering words, numbers, images, and try to see the neural markers. So if you see here, there are different frequency bands within the neural activity. Delta is the slowest and gamma is the highest. It's 30 to 45 hertz. So when they are blindfolded, you can see their beta and the gamma frequency ranges are very high. And then at IIT Mandi, we are developing instrument called it would be called dodecanogram. So it captures signals in the megahertz frequency. The usual neuroscience doesn't operate in megahertz frequency, it operates in some hertz, 100 hertz up to. So that's the brain model people use. But we used that machine to detect even in very high frequency signals the the people who are exhibiting this some so quote unquote yoga pratyaksha, they have a very unique signature. The blue curve you see, it has the highest power in that compared to the resting state and closed eyes or open eyed. So it's a distinct nature. So I'll again rush through. So then we wanted to see whether it is just a form of imagination or intuition. They're just guessing. It's not actually the case. With fully randomized studies, it rules out that possibility. And if I again quickly go to the neural markers, here we studied with 64 very high density EEG setup. So there we see the beta and the gamma frequency bands again very highly activated, and this is the normal vision. You see they're so dull, and here it's so active. So that at least conveys the message that this is not cheating. One gives a first impression, and second, the brain activity is very heightened when they are trying to recognize the object in front of them when they're blindfolded. So then, to eliminate the possibility of cheating, we took the trainer to one of the popular eye hospitals in Noida, and there we performed this electroretinogram test. Electroretinogram test measures the electrical activity on the retina. It's a little painful experiment. The electrodes are inserted within the retina, touched into the retina, and so there we found that when the person is recognizing the objects uh, with open eyes, just normal vision. So this is the upper curve is the normal vision curve, and the lower one is the blindfolded one. And this division is 2 microvolts per division. That means this is almost 5 microvolt. So it has been seen that a normal person with closed eyes, that's the typical range of electrical activity on the retina. So that means the person is not actually cheating. Somebody may say that this is just another case of fraud. This is not. There are people we found they cheat, but many of them they are genuine and they really do this. So this phenomenon is very much real. So we classify them into different categories with touch, no touch, and then hidden. So this is an ongoing experimental study we have been doing. So the first part, and where I described some examples of empirical examples of yoga Pratyakṣa. Then I would like to jump onto another part which I would have covered in the part of my talk, but I clubbed to this talk so that we have more time for discussion. So this is a theoretical study, mathematical study followed by some simulation. So there we studied collective motion of collective behavior of different objects. Here in this case, the birds. So birds, you see, they form very spectacular patterns while they move, while they navigate. So how do they form these collective patterns? What guides them? So there have been several heuristic theories predicting that. So they're all very classical theories. So in my studies in human decision making, I came across that human decision making usually doesn't follow the Boolean logic. It's completely non-Boolean. Non-Boolean means it immediately defies the classical probabilities laws, the Bayes laws, the complete probability law. So that means we need a different paradigm to describe this behavior, whether it is human decision making or in the case of birds and animals. So
the human being single human or collective?
Usually there are two ways to study. One is you can perform on one human and repeatedly you perform many trials, and that also, and you collect a sample, say 100 people, and perform certain cognitive tasks and measure the deviation from the usual classical probabilities. So in either case this works. I mean, it doesn't follow the Boolean logic, and the classical statistics do not follow. So one popular choice is quantum mechanics. It has been there for the last 100 years, and people have been connecting consciousness and awareness to quantum laws. So because of the unique idea of superposition, means two possibilities can exist together. So here Professor Daniel's talk really intrigued me. He said perception is always a function of buddhi. So buddhi means the decision making is a process of buddhi, if I'm not wrong. So here the model that I attempted, of course now it is accepted for publication after a long fight with the reviewers. So that inspiration came from my little bit of reading of Nyaya Sutra, where and of course there are deviation in this also. The mind being atomic, it cannot perceive two things simultaneously. So simultaneity is not a possibility. So and of course the model that I came up with, it has both aspects, simultaneous and non-simultaneous both. So I'll briefly touch upon that. So here is the model. So let us say there are several agents. Agents mean say one agent is a bird, for example. Here there are 6 agents and 6 birds, and one agent is recognizing 2 neighbors. So in his vision cone, the way I can see my vision cone, there are two birds, and in its vision cone there are 2. Like that, I made a model, and I make an ansatz that let us define the percepts of that bird. What could be the elementary percepts? So the one bird may actually decide to follow all of the neighbors. The bird may decide to follow none of them, or the bird may decide to follow either of them. So these are the 4 elementary percepts that the bird has. So when I say they're non, so I actually make a connection that here when Nyaya Sutra is talking about the function of mind, so it's actually talking about the percepts, the elementary percepts that the mind is recognizing, or the Buddhi is apprehending, whether it is there or not. So these are the elementary possibilities, and in the 3 number case, it could be multifold, 2 to the power 3, and 2 to the power n possibilities in n number case. So there we defined something called perception operator. Perception, how to encode the perception. So we made a model for perception, and what came out is that the perception is very much linked with the decision making. So of course that is our construct, so it has to be there. So but the important thing is that here we discuss 2 aspects. One is the pure superposition in quantum laws. Pure superposition means the 2 quantum objects, they're independently behaving. I mean, there is no correlation. Only classical correlation may be there, but there is a possibility called entanglement, where identity of 2 objects is non-separable. That means I cannot describe either of them leaving out the other. So they have to be described together. That means if I translate to this case, that case says that the 2 percepts are not independent, they have to be described together. So what it actually means, I do not know, but this model, when used, it actually very precisely predicts the popular law that is heuristically used in classical nonlinear dynamics, that is called Wicksec law. So it has been there for last 30 years, and of course when written this looks like very simple formula. So here I say the momentum, the force acting on the bird is proportional to the average of the perception. So, and it actually makes a feedback loop. So once the neighbors change, so the perception changes, and so also my decision making, and then the loop follows, and after some time the flocking happens and the collective behavior follows, and we see the wonderful patterns of the birds. So I'll not go into the technicalities. So with this, I would like to conclude my talk. In summary, first I discussed about non-vision visual perception, where certain kids, they can identify objects even if blindfolded. Maybe that could be a case of yogaja Pratyakṣa. And the second one, where I discussed about how action and perception are they're related through decision making. And maybe Dr. Venkatesh would talk about more on action and perception mechanism when he would describe the theory of cognitive agents. So thank you. Here is the mic. Hope it is on also.
Part of the talk, we talked about non-visual perception, and you have shown that mostly beta and gamma waves are active.
Yes.
So they came as after an analysis, or you have chosen those events particularly?
No, it's not chosen, it came out. I was expecting alpha band because that is responsible for attention, but more than alpha, it is I found it is beta and gamma. So beta and gamma, they are usually, particularly gamma is associated with very intense meditation. So because these kids, they are trying to identify the objects, they're very much into a meditative zone. So probably that's the signature we see in the brain. So yes. Uh-huh. Here they're theta. This is delta, this is theta, this is alpha, this is beta, gamma. The 5 columns, they are different. It's not so visible, but they are there. So delta, you see, there is a difference. Theta, there is a difference. It has reduced actually. Alpha is quite similar, and but beta and gamma, they are strikingly different. The blindfold case, the brain activity has heightened up like anything.
So basically, he meant to say that when the person is blindfolded and we have given him the object to perceive, so so the person is in a deep meditative state, and in that state, the person, even if your physical organ is blocked, still you are able to perceive because of the heightened state of meditation. That's what Professor Daniel was also, I think, speaking. And in the heightened state, a certain level of probably because even 15 days back we were studying another subject where that subject is actually Professor Arindam. When I asked her when she was meditating she's blindfolded and she's trying to, and we completely covered her so that even the possibility of light getting reflected and absorbed by the skin and somehow the signal is reaching the mind, and that was blocked completely. Even in that stage, and she was sitting in meditation, and we were also discussing lot many things. For 5 minutes, she kept on meditating, and then she finally she completely 100% with accurate 100% accuracy she completely told what is the object in front of her, but she could not hear what we were talking. So and also she later on in different talks she explained that she has developed such a strong meditation. For example, if she is in the the playground and somebody is talking something about her in the room, which is maybe 500 meter away, she is able to hear that. That heightened state of hearing and also smell. So when we gave this target object to her for perception, and when she blindfolded, she said that you have covered me, but you have not covered my nose because I am able to smell the shape, and color. So then I thought probably maybe because colors also have some smell because we can also smell. So then she said that even if you close my nose or still I can hear the color. So this is a completely different kind of perception which is happening here. So now next stage we are trying to do is that we completely obstruct the ear. I don't know how we obstruct this smell, but this is different actually. So that's what we wanted to hear from you and Professor Daniel and also from other scholars. What is happening here?
I think we can move on to next.
Maybe you can make obstruct in a certain way by putting the object in some other enclosure.
Yes,
RF channel kind of thing.
So there is just one doubt. What was the control in this case? The control condition?
Control condition, it has a self control in the sense normal vision was one control, and then they're not blindfolded and just close the eyes. If you see this one, first one, closed eyes without blindfold. We use that as control compared with that.
So they were not specifically asked without blindfold to not do any object recognition.
They were just imagining. We asked them to whatever you want to do.
Because the condition here is object, not exactly blindfold is one condition, but another condition is object. So they are specifically asked in case of blindfold to do the object detection or object recognition.
Yes.
But was that case for the without blindfold? That was the instruction or no?
We said whatever you want to do. You can close your. Actually, experiment pipeline. Let me explain. So here, is it visible clearly?
Yes.
So the person came and there is a resting state. Then the stimulus was shown, and then it's a normal vision, and then it was rest and then blindfolded. So this was one condition where we extracted the normal vision and blindfold vision. The person with open eyes seeing the object, and with blindfold eyes saw the object, recognized the object. So this is one study, and then the other one was this one, where the person observed the image with open eyes, and then closed the eye and imagined the object that it has recognized. So I made a mistake while mentioning. So and then the second, uh, give some rest to the subject, and then blindfold it. So once blindfold, ask ask the subject to recognize what the image is. So then once it has recognized, ask to imagine the image with closed eyes. So I mean with blindfolded. So these are the four conditions I just reported to you.
Okay, we will have later discussion.
we
Thank
can
you. We will have
discuss.
discussion later.
Yeah, thank you. So I think we should proceed to next speaker. Aja, Professor.
Um, I have a small suggestion, which is directly not related to his presentation, but your explanation. And I have a question to you.
Okay.
Uh, Obviously, neither I nor Daniel can meet your challenge or request. Tell us what is happening, because that's obviously you're not expecting us to just tell you from the top of the mountain as to what is happening, because we don't have that prajna. But a small correction or comment, I don't think we should make the mistake of explaining or calling this in Yoga Sutra terms as any states of samadhi, except in the generic sense that there is a very peculiar comment in the Vyasa's commentary to the second sutra, Yoga Chittavritti Nirodha, because the first one is Atha Yoganushāsanam, and then Chittavritti Nirodha. Under that, Vyasa says every state of mind has a little bit of samadhi in it, which is very interesting. There's that comment there. Do you recall? Okay. But what is happening when you described in detail the nearby conversation she is not hearing, but willingly she is focusing on one thing, and even unwittingly they are sometimes developing remote sensing abilities, which is not willed. All these three are explained by another Chitta-bhumi. So if we go through the analysis of Patanjali, so there is distracted, Vikshipta, there is crazy, Kshipta, there is Mura, which is confused, and then there is Ekagra. I think what is happening here is the Vibhuti of, this is a Vibhuti no doubt, but not Vibhuti by long Abhyasa Vairagyabhyam, not with a, because obviously these children were not put through long Abhyas or Vairagya, no question.
Not very long, maybe 40 hours of training.
Yeah, but obviously 40 hours will not establish Vairagya, forget about that. So, I don't know. I hope you did not give them any rewards, because that would ruin the entire.
So yes. So we are studying two groups of children. One group of children is children are they are not doing any kind of they are not Sanskrit in one sense. They are not kids. But of course to do this they have gone through the meditation.
That's fine, but if they get it right, are they getting any carrots? And if they get it totally wrong, are they getting any sticks?
No, nothing. No, there is nothing. We are not remunerating. Usually in cognitive science experiments, we remunerate the subject.
I would like to find those Kids in the whole of India, I don't find anybody without motivation to focus. Even with motivation, they don't focus. Okay,
The second group of children, they are Gurukul kids, those all girls, Gurukul girls, and they get up at 4 a.m., go to their mantra chanting, yoga, and meditation, everything. And that the whole, they
well,
complete that.
that's not relevant to my question because Gurukul girls or anybody, even in a great ashram,
But we have
they have sticks. They don't have carrots, but they have sticks. So that's a motivator. And so the statistics of scientific result is slightly ruined by threatening. I mean, if they all suppose this Gurukul girls en masse, they get it all wrong and they are not able to focus. I'm sure they will have a bad time in their Gurukul. So that answers my very serious question to you, which might help all of us, is that, of course, you sandwich two talks. If you are asked sincerely, what is the connection between this blind sight of people, this occult phenomenon of an alaukika pratyaksha, even jnana lakshana like smelling colors and tasting shapes and so on. What is the connection between this first part and the non-Boolean decision
They are two
making?
different things. I just because of
No, but deliberately, if I ask you,
okay.
you know, with enough focus, do you think there is a connection?
Yes, actually,
You didn't put any two papers together. You put these two papers together.
yes,
Why?
there is a deeper reason behind it why we did. It's a part of bigger project that Dr. Venkatesh and we are part of, where we're trying to model. Usually in cognitive science and neuroscience, they say mind is just a maybe phenomenon and similar such things, where the perception and all these things are not taken as fundamental, rather derivative of just the molecular action or like stuff like that. So we wanted to create a counter narrative where we start the dynamics from a subtler level and try to predict the usual classical behavior the experimental domain. So that's the primary backdrop for all we're trying to do. In the first case, where we're trying to show that this phenomenon occurs, the blindfolded children recognizing objects. So subtle reason of doing is to show that maybe there is a alternate mechanism of perception which is not otherwise understood in neuroscience and usual science, that the mind or maybe sukshma indriya, if you accept, it can bypass the usual channel of understanding the objects in the world, and once we found the mechanism of perception, then comes the action. So we are not silent observer, we are acting on the world, and there's and that's sandwiched by the decision that we're doing. So, so that's why I thought of, and that the other paper was explicitly on decision making and modeling it using non-Boolean logic. So that's why I tried to put them together.
But this connects
Yeah.
with the point I was making in the morning about Nifika. Because the bird's behavior
Yeah.
shows the direct need for connecting
Yes.
perception with action.
Exactly. That is the primary motivation that we did. And Dr. Venkatesh would describe that in more detail. So when he described the model. So I think now time for next speaker. So thank you. I think we proceed for the talks. So it's already quite delayed. We can discuss.